Hello, everybody. In this session of ours, we are going to discuss how sugar affects the brain. Is there any relationship between eating sugar and the brain activity? I am Sripad, and I have with me Dr. Anil Sangli, who is going
Hi.
to highlight on this issue. Hello, doctor.
Hi.
Yeah, the topic is the relationship between sugar and brain.
Yes. Well, sugar, like everybody knows, it's extremely sweet. Everybody likes it, whether it is sugar, honey, or any sort of a rice syrup or any sort of polysaccharide, glucose. Yeah, right from a child, we start eating chocolates and we are addicted to sugar actually. And sugar is one thing which everybody probably likes, and that is one of the most common cause for problems in your elderly life. Eating more sugar can cause a lot of problems. First thing is you will get a lot of craving to eat sugar. Once you start eating more, the amount of sugar you eat will be metabolized in the body initially, and then you will have a low sugar, high sugar, low sugar, high sugar levels. And once this waveform of sugar levels keep on coming in, whenever you have a low of a sugar, you tend to eat more. When you eat more, the amount of carbohydrates, the sugar is broken down into various particles in your body that it is metabolized. When it is metabolized, the main requirement for metabolism is the insulin. So as soon as you eat something, the amount of insulin level in the body increases. And when there is a lot of fluctuation, like if you don't eat only 3 meals a day or 2 meals a day, and if you keep on eating in between, then the type of food that you eat also depends.
Like
More
keep on eating the pani puri.
more often they eat sort of pizzas, pani puris, and a lot of stuff which contain excessive amount of carbohydrates and different types of starch. And when they get broken down into sugar particles like monosaccharides, then the amount of sugar that enters into the body may not be able to handle. The insulin level keeps on varying, goes up and down, goes up
So
and
when
down.
you eat, it goes up, and when you
Insulin level increases as soon as you eat some sugar, and then again it reduces.
when you eat something,
Yeah, and when the insulin level keeps on changing so fast or so quite often, the first thing that happens is the body will develop an insulin resistance. So when there is an insulin resistance, then you get more prone to become diabetic, more prone for obesity.
okay.
And the most important thing is the glycogen metabolism, that is the sugar and the glycogen, where the metabolism takes place in the liver. The person will start getting a fatty liver. That means there will be a deposition or accumulation of lot of fats in your liver. And very often, within a few probably months or years, they start developing addiction to sugar. Sugar is extremely addictive. So is cell phone also. And the sugar, cocaine, heroin, and all these go through the dopamine pathway. And when they go through the dopamine pathway, they cause some sort of an elation. And when you have an elation, you feel you want more of that elation. You take more. And when you take more, there is what is called as a tachyphylaxis. That means the more you take, the more you will require, and you will crave more because the amount of satisfaction with the previous amount of dosage of sugar would not be enough for you to give the same amount of mental elation. So you'll require more and more. When you require more, you take more, and that becomes a vicious cycle, and then you get addicted. It's very difficult to come out of the sugar addiction because if you start reducing your sugar intake, then you feel very, very deprived, and you feel very weak. You feel you don't have any energy at all, and all these things will come in. But most often, within 3 days to 3 weeks, if you strive hard with a good mental capacity and a focus, you
Determination.
can definitely come out of this craving. Once that happens, for example, say you stop eating sugar for about the next 1 month or 2 months, within about 3 months, within about 3 weeks, you will be having a lot of changes in your body, especially in your body metabolism. What exactly happens is the amount of sugar or the carbohydrate content reduces into the body, and the first thing you will notice is you will feel very tired, and you will feel so depressed that you have a craving for sugar. When that happens, you have to probably stop at that point, and then you should definitely have some more of determination and stop it. And this type of an addiction and a craving lasts only for around probably 3-4 days at the most, and then you will probably get used to it. When this happens, the body, which is getting sugar as and when it pleases, will not get sugar. The most important organ of the body which requires excessive amount of sugar is brain, and that is the glucose. Because it takes only metabolic content from the glucose part. When the sugar level in the blood reduces, then the amount of sugar going to the brain also reduces. Then that is the reason for your craving and your requirement of more and more sugar. What then happens is the higher centers in the brain will start acting in such a way that it will have to get some sugar somewhere. So if you don't have anything to prepare at home, what will you do? Whatever you get your hands on, you try to do something and prepare and eat it. The same thing happens in the body. It will start taking the proteins, it will start taking the fat contents from the body. More often it will be the fat content which gives a lot of carbohydrates when it is broken down. So the first thing that happens is a ketosis. That is, in the body, the fat content and the protein content also to a certain extent will start reducing because it gets broken down. And if you keep on fasting without taking anything, then the protein content will break down faster. So you tend to become thin faster. So that should not happen because your protein content is very important. The fat content which gets deposited all over the body has to be remetabolized, has to be redistributed, and it should be taken out. So what happens is the body tries to take down all these things and it absorbs the fat from different parts, metabolizes them, and then the craving starts reducing and the brain will get enough amount of glucose. The main reason for why the glucose metabolism is so adequately and aptly controlled by the body is because of the brain. Because the brain requires exact amount of sugar all the time. If your sugar is low, you will tend to go for a coma. If your sugar is very high, you will again go for a coma. Whether it's a hypoosmolar or a hyperosmolar coma, that depends on how much of sugar is there in your blood. So the body, that is the brain, will tightly control the sugar. It's the main function for it to survive and for it to function.
Doctor, is there any relationship between this gut and brain?
There is what is called as a gut-brain axis or a enteric nervous system.
Is this any relation?
There is an entity, yes, because of late we have found out the amount of blood circulation to the gut after you eat will increase from normally from 20 to 25-30%. The brain also requires about 20% at all times. And if you start meditating, if you start doing some mental exercises, if you start listening to music, all these things will increase the metabolism of the brain, the blood circulation of the brain, which increases it to more than 20%. So if you just meditate, it is as good as you are energizing by increasing your metabolism by more than 20%. That's the reason why many people who only do meditation without any physical activity are also thin and they're fit.
Yeah, probably in our scriptures also we find that they go for meditation for 6 months, 9 months.
No, they go
and
for
they don't
several
eat
years. They don't eat, and they can maintain themselves, and they can actually control their body's metabolism to the minimum extent that is required for the heart to beat, just to breathe and to keep your mind
and
active.
is there any relationship between in our in Indian tradition we have this system of Ekadashi? It's a total fasting day. When you don't eat anything, it's known as
It's too low a term to be called.
Yeah, and Ekadashi is totally based on astronomical calculations too. On the body,
We will discuss about Ekadashi and the fasting day
that's also
separately.
part
But
of
one thing I want to
fasting.
mention here is there is one entity called as a brain-derived neurotropic factor. That is called as BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic substance or neurotropic factor. What happens in this is when you fast, the amount of the BDNF increases. When you eat low sugar, the amount of BDNF increases. When you exercise, the BDNF increases.
What is the benefit?
What is the benefit is this brain-derived growth factor is so important because that is the one which helps you in neuroplastic response. Neuroplasticity, by the way, what I mean is, suppose the very same example, you stop eating sugar for some time, for probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks. No sugar means nothing at all. Even your rice content will be come down. Whether it is rice or ragi or wheat, there is a fact that all of, whether if you don't want to eat rice, you can eat ragi or eat chapatis.
That's
All
right.
of them have the 100 grams of each will have the same amount of carbohydrates and give the same amount of energy. But the metabolism varies, so you don't feel hungry immediately in ragi. That's all.
Okay.
So, but so you have to reduce the total carbohydrate content of your body. When you reduce the carbohydrate content of the body, the brain-derived neurotropic factor will increase. When that increases, your focus, your memory, your cognition, your way of understanding things, the way in which you can adapt to various types of situations, all these things will improve. And you can notice that improvement within 3-4 weeks.
Okay.
So that is the most important thing in fasting. Whether you do an intermittent fasting or like 14 hours fasting or 12 hours fasting every day or weekly fasting or 2 weekly fasting, it depends on the particular individual and their likes and dislikes. But fasting definitely helps. And how fasting helps, how it improves your energy actually. Actually the fasting, they think that your energy level will come down, you feel very that's because you're not accustomed to it. Once you get accustomed to the fasting rules, like your mentation and your body gets accustomed to it, you will definitely have an enormous amount of energy the same day or in the following day, and that lasts for almost a week.
Oh.
And that is known actually. And if you do all these things for probably about 3-4 weeks, you will have a very stable blood sugar. Your HbA1c levels, that is the 3 weekly blood sugar, 3 monthly blood sugar levels, which normally we see in diabetics, that will come down. Most important is your good cholesterol will increase, bad cholesterol will decrease, then the HDL will improve, LDL will come down, the triglyceride level will definitely come down, so your risk for heart attack and strokes will reduce. There's an enormous benefit just by not eating
Probably by this, I think you can save a lot of money from going to
you must tell the
as a
economic aspect of
I think you can reduce a lot of money on medical expenses in your later life, especially when you don't have any.
Not only medical expenses, the expenses for buying all this carbohydrate stuff. That is quite expensive.
And you are active too once you start adopting to these.
And very important is you cannot go back to the same regime later on because
that discipline
even if you want to, that's why
the mind adapts to
the not only in the mind, the brain adapts to it, because what happens is within 3 months there will be a change in your brain structure if you stop eating sugar.
Oh really?
The brain rewiring takes place.
Okay.
Your taste buds will change. You will, for example, you will relish a honey cake. 3 months you have not tested anything, and then you go for a party and they'll give you the same honey cake. This is what I was wanting to eat for the last 3 months. Now I got a chance, I'll break my diet, I'll just take once for. Okay, you take it. You find it's extremely sweet. Because your taste buds are changed now. There is the same amount of sweetness will taste very sweetish, and you feel nauseous also, and you may not like it. What you like the most, you will not like it now because of the brain rewiring that happens
within 3 weeks.
3 months, 3 weeks to 3 months it happens. That is because of the brain-derived neurotropic factor. And that is because the neuroplastic response will take place in the brain. Only thing is you will have to keep yourself mentally prepared to do it what come may.
And I think this will also have a good effect on the brain thought process also. It will
the clarity of thoughts will improve. And most important thing during the COVID times is the immunity of your body will improve. That is because when you fast or when you eat less amount of sugars, what makes one person succumb to COVID and another same type of person not succumb to COVID, he'll just have a minimal flu-like response and then he'll get better. Some people, even a small thing, they keep on deteriorating day by day and then die. And that fellow is quite healthy. What happens actually is the basic thing that happens is the immune response. The immune response will be keep on fluctuating. And what makes your immune response better is by exercise, by dieting, and by avoiding sugars, and by your mental exercises. All these things will help.
So I think we'll do some.
I think we'll have to
topics on this.
Take more topics on fasting, less of carbohydrates, very less of carbohydrates, and see the difference in 30 days. Thank you. Thank you.
Sa